Hi guys, Arthur here from Homeowner DIY. So today what I want to talk about is framing. So I spent 15 years plumbing and new construction, so I had to learn a little bit about framing because you can't necessarily cut or drill wherever you want. There are rules to certain types of walls, so you don't wind up butchering your house. You need to know some of this stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about my greenhouse that I made basically from scratch. I did it on my own. And then we're going to go into the garage. So the garage is a bigger version of the greenhouse. There's a few other things that I can show you within the garage that the greenhouse it doesn't have. But it's going to be basically the same principle. So alright guys, so this is the greenhouse. So in this greenhouse, this is the smallest version of anything that you can really frame that has anything load bearing. I mean, this is an oversized doghouse really. So what we have here is we have 4 exterior walls. Now when I say an exterior wall, every exterior wall is a load bearing wall. It carries structure, carries weight. So we have our trusses here, and what's it sitting on? Our load bearing walls. So you can sometimes take walls out, and if you guys do a renovation, you'll be asking, hey, if I can take this wall out. So when we're asking about taking walls out, we're talking about a load bearing and a non-load bearing wall. If there was a wall down here in the middle, we'd be able to take it out because it's not bearing any load. So my studs here, these studs are all 24 inches apart. So guys, stud spacing will come in one of 3 different lengths. You'll have either 12 inches, 16 inches, or 24 inches spacing between studs. So the reason for having this specific spacing is so a sheet of plywood or a sheet of drywall will be able to fit on, and you're going to hit it right on the center. So a typical sheet of drywall or plywood is 4x8. So what that means, it's 4 feet wide by 8 feet long. You can also get up into 4x10, but I don't know if you can get anything bigger than that. But the idea is, for the spacing, it is going to fit right on the middle of the stud. So all my wood here this is all pressure treated wood. Is meant to be outside. So my trusses, what I did was, when I built the bottom, I took the length going across, and then I built the trusses on my own. So I took a piece on the bottom, and then I figured out how high I want it to be. And then what I did was I cut everything and I put it together. So I have a gang nail there, I have a gang nail there, and then a gang nail there. And I have it on both sides. Same thing here. So both sides are clamped together. So I use these types of brackets. It's what I had. I'm not sure what you need for brackets, but again, our trusses are the same thing. They are 24 inches apart. So nails, when you're framing stuff like this, what you're going to use is 3-inch nails. So for 3-inch nails, what you want is the nail going through in far enough to get through our 2x4 and then our plate. So one thing you need to keep in mind here as well is, when you're nailing your stuff, it drives me mad when we have something like here and then framers nail it in the middle here. So generally it'd be better to to nail right on top of your studs so you don't hit it when you try to drill through it. So our bottom plate here, this is called our bottom plate, and then we have our studs. So our bottom plate is generally going to be 1 plate, and then our top plate, as you see, is going to be 2. This is typical of how they framed things in construction. So guys, like I said, when you're buying your lumber, make sure you buy straight lumber. You can see how it changes here. It's actually the other way, and then it bows out this way and then comes back in. This is what happens when you buy lumber and they deliver and you don't get to choose what you want. So up here, I have a piece of 1/2-inch plywood. So this is what we call a shear wall. What you do is put a piece of plywood and then you nail it all the way down, and this is actually a structural wall. So what we'll do is I'll show you what it looks like on the outside from nailing it. Again, this is framing code here in BC. So you have all your nails 2 inches apart, 3 inches, 3-inch long nails. So the idea is all these nails here will keep this wall in one place. Otherwise, the wall will have a tendency to want to do this. So this is actually a structural wall. All right, so this is our gate. Again, the hinges are on this side, so we put our cross piece going this way. So I doubled up the studs here and here just to make it a little bit stronger for the gate itself. I mean, I've never had a problem. It works perfectly. I built this thing, what, 2 years ago, and everything still looks fantastic on it. What I did is I put poly. I believe this is 6mm poly just to cover it, because I already bought this stuff for something else, so I didn't see this point in spending more money. But what we'll do now is we'll go into the garage, and then we will reference our greenhouse here to something bigger, but it's going to be built basically the same way. Okay, so here we are in the garage. So this here is a shear wall. We have a piece of plywood that's nailed all the way around, and then it's nailed down every stud. It's the same 2-inch spacing. This is a structural wall, so the idea is the plywood is going to make the wall stronger. Again, we have our double top plate, our bottom plate, and we have our sill gasket. So looking up at the trusses, unfortunately I've got too much stuff in here now, but you see our truss here that comes across, and then in this case you have the gang nail here, and then you have a piece coming off and coming off. So if you look at this, what you have is a triangle here, a bigger triangle that spans all the way across, and then you have a triangle down there as well. So when it comes to supporting your roof, apparently triangles are the strongest shape to do that, because with your roof you have to support the shingles, the plywood, snow, or anything else on top of the roof. Alright, so we're gonna go into framing and opening now. So our garage door here is our opening. So because of the garage door, and we have to come in and out, this is no different from a window or a door where you can't have structure. So the studs here have been removed. So how do we frame an opening? What we do is we have our studs here. So in the middle here, this is a king stud that goes all the way to the top, and then these are jack studs. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 jack studs. So these jack studs sit right underneath the beam. So the beam here, this is called a parallelogram beam. It's an engineered beam. So this beam is carrying the weight of the missing studs here. So it's carrying the load above here. So when I say that you can't necessarily drill or cut through anything you want, the trusses here, these you're not allowed to touch. This beam you're not allowed to cut through, definitely. And you can drill it for wires. It has to be really small, just like this wire here. You can drill a very small hole. You cannot drill for plumbing or anything else. Our stud pack here, this is called a point load because it's carrying the load above it. So at the bottom of the load, we have a double plate, again a sill gasket, and then we have our footing. So this is what's going to carry the entire load between the two two doors. So this is why you have to be careful about what you're drilling. You can't just go ahead and start drilling whatever you want. So what we'll do really quickly is we're going to check our stud spacing. So I said it's either going to be 12, 16, or 24. So this is a 16 stud spacing. So our drywall will land right on a stud. So our lumber now. What we have here is we have a 2x4. This is the width, it's 1.5 inches. Beside it here, this is a 1x4. So as I said, it's dimensional lumber. So you can see it's 1.5 inches. Our 1x4 is 3/4. So our 2x4, the width is 3.5. So we have our 2x4 here. This is a regular 2x4. This is pressure treated. You see how it's a darker color. So pressure treated has chemicals that are pushed into the wood under pressure. This is meant to be outside. This can be outside, but it's not going to last very long. So a better alternative to pressure treated is cedar, but it just gets much more expensive. This is a 2x6. It's 5.5 cross. This is a 1x5. I had it, so it's just for a good demonstration purpose. This here, this is a 2x10. Now, the thing about a 2x10 is it's not 9.5. It is actually 9.25. I don't know why this is, but that is what this is. This is all dimensional lumber. So here we have a 4x4. It's 4 inches on the one side. You flip it over, it's 4 inches. This is what you're going to use to support a gate or a fence panel. So our plywood. This is 1/2 inch ply, this is 3/4 ply. So when you look at it like this, you can see the 3 plies here. This one has 5, it's just tough to see because it's all dirty. But you can get 3/8 ply, 1/2 inch ply, 5/8, 3/4, 1 inch. You can get a lot of different types of plywood. Alright, so these are nails. This here is a finishing nail. It has a small head, so you can easily conceal it. This is a 2 1/4 nail. The wires it came off a roll. So if you're going to be framing, you're going to get it off a coil because it's a lot faster. This is a 3-inch spike, just a regular 3-inch spike. This is a 3.5 inch galvanized nail. You can see the different color in the coating. This is an 8-inch spike. What you're going to use an 8-inch spike for is a 4x4 like this. If you want to do a planter, then you can make a cute little look out of this. And then this will go through both your pieces of wood. So in screws, these are all number 8s. You can get 8s, 10s, 12s. You can get a whole different amount of screws. It goes by the thickness, the number. This is 1 1/4. This is 2 inch. Sorry, 1 1/4, 1.5 inch, 2 inch. And then 3 inch. So these are just some of the screws that you can get for framing. Alright, so let's go into lumber and how to read the labels for lumber. So when you're going out to buy studs or dimensional lumber, what you'll see is stuff like 2x4x8, 2x4x10, 2x6x8, 2x6x12. So what these numbers mean is the first 2 numbers is the dimensional lumber in inches. So a 2x4 is 1.5 by 3.5. And then when you see the 8, 10, 12, or 16, this is linear feet because we are talking about studs right now. So as far as I know, it'll always be inch by linear feet. When we get into drywall or plywood, what you're going to see is 4x8 by half, 4x8 by 5/8 by 3/4. So 4x8 is a standard sheet. It's 4 feet wide by 8 feet long. You can also get up into 4x10. But the idea is with your stud spacing of 12, 16, or 24, it's going to land right on the very edge, and then you can quickly go and do your job. Remember, in construction, everything is about quality and production. It needs to be quick and effective. So this is why they have these certain numbers. So when it comes to plywood, you have all sorts of types of plywood. You have sanded, which is really good plywood. You have typical plywood. You have degraded. You have OSB, which is Orient Strand Board. It's basically wood shavings that are pressed together with a resin. In my opinion, this stuff is garbage. You see it a lot, but it's a cheaper alternative to plywood. It's not something I would willingly use unless for the project it doesn't warrant to use anything better. So guys, I hope some of this has helped. I hope this has made buying lumber or going about buying lumber more clear for you guys. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next project.